Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the potential matchup between Jon Jones versus Dominick Reyes. This is most likely the next matchup for both. You could say Corey Anderson might be in there somewhere. You might say Blachowicz might be in there somewhere, or Thiago Santos might be in there somewhere, but this is most likely the next matchup. So I'm gonna predict it. I think it's a pretty decent matchup right here. But let's see how they match up. So Jon Jones is about 6'4.5". Dominick Reyes is 6'4", two big guys for the weight class. I think Reyes is a little bit more filled out as far as weight wise. I think Jon Jones is leaner, probably stronger, but not gonna get too much into that. But yeah, so Jon Jones is a little bit taller, reaches much longer, 84.5 to about 78 reach for Reyes, or 78 to 80 inch reach for Reyes. So Jon Jones still has a significant reach over him. So the physical side, age wise, they might say Reyes is this new blood or this new breed or this and that, but he's only 3 years younger than Jon Jones, so that doesn't really matter too much. So age, not necessarily a big factor between these two at this moment. Jon Jones, like I said, taller fighter, longer reach. I think he's a much better striker, much better wrestler, much better grappler, much better fight IQ. So he's really pretty much better than everywhere than Dominick Reyes, except Reyes has a little bit more power. I mean, not a little bit. He has power, and Jon Jones don't necessarily have power. So that's where Reyes has his strength. And they can say, I guess another area they could try to say, I'll give Reyes hope in this fight is that he's a taller fighter, and Jon Jones has issues with taller fighters. But when you really look into it, has Jon Jones really had that much issues with fighters his height or taller? Not necessarily. You can say the Gustafsson fight, and that's really the only relevant fight you can kind of go to. But then that fight was kind of pretty much shut down by the second Gustafsson fight, where Jon Jones picked Gustafsson apart and finished him in the third round. Completely dominated him in every single round, technically, and then broke him down and finished him in the third. So can't say much about that. You can say, the OSP fight, but what did the OSP do in that fight except get picked apart by Jon Jones going 30%? OSP landed like 1 or 2 shots and got destroyed and dominated. He didn't get finished, but Jon Jones still made him look easy. He fought him on short notice, pretty much fought him on the fly, no game plan needed, and just picked him apart and dominated him for 5 rounds. Broke his arm and everything. He didn't get a finish, but he still dominated him. And maybe some other fights. Might say the Bonner fight, go back 100 years ago and talk about the Bonner fight, but Jon Jones was only like less than 3 years into his career fighting against a veteran, and he was still kind of a raw talent and still dominated Bonner. So you can't really say much about these tall fighters. I think it could be an issue if Reyes makes it an issue, but the reason why Gustafsson was an issue because Gustafsson has some good fundamental boxing. He was light on his feet, could make some angles, active jab, good uppercuts, some good hooks around the side. Like I said, he was taller than Jon Jones. He was active, good boxing, throw out volume. But Reyes is really a flat, light on his feet, volume, striking, slick boxer. Not really. He's more so, he has average volume, but he has a lot of power and a good left hand. He has some good kicks, but most of his tools actually kind of fall into Jon Jones too, and Jon Jones do them better. So like I said, Jon Jones better in pretty much every area than Reyes outside of power. So as far as the tools that Reyes had, he has a good left hand. That's with the straight uppercut. And then on the other side, on his right hand, he has a average hook and what's called average hook and a fair enough jab. But his jab is more so a going back jab. It's not really a jab for him to get on the inside. So against Jon Jones, he's going to need a jab, an entry jab. He's going to need a dictator jab. He's not going to need one of these little jabs like this get off me jab or find keep your range, keep the distance. Because most of the time he's fighting fighters shorter than him, just like Jon Jones is. And he might have a good teep kick. He'll throw some kicks out there, to keep that distance, like a teep kick to push you back so you can't really get in on him. He'll throw some leg kicks to try to wear on your, so you can't really load up on power punches as much. Just, and just throw you off your stance. He'll do stuff like that. So he'll keep you at range so you can be in the range for his left hand, and so you're not too close in on him, smothering him. Like I said, teep kicks, so he pretty much doing a lot of stuff Jon Jones does, but not as good, or at least with the same intentions as Jon Jones to keep that range, put up volume, and make opponents think what's called think about different stuff. Then if he attack your legs a bit, attack your body a bit, he'll pick the kicks up the top. So it's not like he's that discreet with it. It's just more so to keep you worrying about something so that you never really smother him too much. So like I said, despite him being all tall and stuff, it's not like he fights he's that used to fighting taller fighters as well. I think Jon Jones has more. Matter of fact, Jon Jones does have more experience in fighting fighters his height and taller fighters. Whereas Dominick Reyes, like I said, most of his skills are set, and what he uses is for fighting fighters smaller than him or shorter than him. Like I said, his jab not really an entry level jab or a dictator jab. It's a jab to maintain distance. His kicks are mostly to maintain distance, give his opponents different looks so he can bring it up top. So yeah. As far as like I said, what really his dangerous tool is his left hand. And against Jon Jones, you can't go in there as a 1-2 fighter. You're just a 1-2 fighter. Jon Jones will neutralize that 1-2 and pick you apart. I think that's what John Jones gonna go out there and do. He's gonna go out there. He's not gonna try to go out there and wrestle him and just dominate him. And let me sidestep to the wrestling. Reyes is a wrestler, and they talk about his wrestling so much, but he's been taken down more in MMA more times than he's taken down his opponents, or at least in the UFC specifically. He's been taken down more times than he's taken down his opponents. So as far as wrestling, it's not like, oh, he's a poor wrestler. His wrestling is all right. It's more so like he has good fundamentals. And yeah, people take him down, but they do nothing with it. Like he's a big fighter. People take him down, but he can spring right back up. He could get some takedowns of his own. He's a big physical fighter, and he has a good shot, some good fundamental striking, and he has some power. He has size and power. If you can put that power on you, he can put you out. He can strike some well, but nothing really super exceptional about what he brings. And John Jones, like I said, he could be a threat for everyone else in the division, but against John Jones, I think being that one-dimensional fighter and just relying on, oh, I could get back up and land that big shot, or I can maybe out-volume some fighters that have lesser volume than me, or at least make them respect what's called my left hand enough, then I can, beat a lot of these fighters. But John Jones, he's going to respect that left hand, but he's going to shut it down and pick them apart. Reyes going to have to find some different tools, and I think if Reyes really wants to have success, he's going to have to develop that jab more to be a dictator type of jab, a jab where he's going forward, pressing forward, like sticking that jab in John Jones' face, making John Jones react, tagging John Jones with that jab, making John, like I said, making John had to move that head, making John had to adjust, and then maybe tag him with that jab and then follow him back with that left straight. But as he has now, he really not gonna be able to find that straight. You can't really dictate the pace with that jab, like actually pressing forward, jabbing in on John Jones, touching with the jab and catch a straight. That straight not really gonna be effective because John Jones not gonna be really falling in to get caught by that, like these people swinging these wild hooks. John Jones has more reach than you, so John Jones not walking in to begin with. He can be kicking your leg, kicking your body, maybe throw an elbow here and there, but he's not gonna be falling in with his stuff because he has taller than you, has longer reach than you. So a lot of Reyes' best tool is gonna be a little bit ineffective unless he can get a more forward jab. And I feel in the wrestling like John Jones can take, if those other people could take him down, John Jones could take him down and have success. But I feel like John Jones with his ego, he's gonna go out there and try to strike with Reyes, and he's gonna strike with Reyes. And I feel like he's a better striker. And I feel like he's gonna be able to neutralize that one too. But the one kind of hope of light that Reyes has, that if he can develop a better jab, there's opportunities there. But if he try to go out there and try to do too much in this camp, like I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna work on my jiu-jitsu, I'm gonna work on my wrestling, I'm gonna do all this other stuff and try to do something different in there, all it's gonna do is take away from the areas he needs to work on. I think it needs to, because John Jones is going to go out and try to strike. Yes, keep working on his defensive wrestling and stuff. But as far as offensively, matter of fact, do a little bit of offensive, but I think more so the best area he should work is his striking. And I say that falls down the jab so he can make his straight more effective. Because if that's your best tool is your left hand, and you're going to have difficulty landing it. As a matter of fact, for him to win, or for him to have success, is he has to make that left hand as dangerous as possible, is make it as much of a problem as possible. If he doesn't really work on that, like what's called the jab, because the jab helps the left hand, it helps the range, helps everything. If he doesn't make that a more offensive weapon or a more offensive tool for him, then he's really going to be getting neutralized the whole night by John Jones and most likely get finished. But this is not a tutorial for Dominick Reyes for how to be more effective against John Jones. How I see the fighter, I see like I said, he has one tool. Yes, he's big. Yes, he's dangerous. But his wrestling offensively is average or subpar. His wrestling defensively is average or subpar. But as far as scramble ability and get back to his feet, it's more than sufficient. He's good at scrambling, getting back to his feet, and that's good for him. He has some good power in that left hand, but again, a one-handed fighter. Against John Jones, that's going to get neutralized very quickly. He's going to get frozen up and picked apart. I think John Jones can definitely make this easy fight if he mixes up the full MMA game, but I think John's going to go out there again like he did in the Santos fight and just go out there and strike. And I think even just doing that, with Santos just been Reyes has been a one-handed fighter, not like a fighter that has multiple tools or really multiple dangerous threats. I think like John Jones neutralized him pretty easily in this fight. I think John Jones picked him apart and stops him in the third round. So in this fight, I got John Jones via third round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for Jones versus Reyes. And as always, thanks for watching.